Hello and welcome to Tower. I thought I'd make a mini series of my M-Chassis cars, mostly to give you a bit of insight as to what's different with mine and how you can go about making similarly yourself. First on a bench, we've got this Ivan Stewart truck, the kind of thing you would have seen in the 80s doing off-road stadium events in the US. And I guess a number of Tamiya owners would look at it and go, it's a TAO2 chassis. It's the truck version of the four-wheel drive Manta Ray with the short arms, except for mine's not. I did a bit of research into the one-tail trucks. So this is a monster racer body. It's the same as is used on the Desert Fielder. But actually, if you look at the raw measurements of it, it comes up as approximately a 1/12 scale truck. And I was looking around as to what chassis it goes on. Obviously, it goes on the TAO2T, but I had other ideas. I wanted something narrower than that, and something that was more appropriately scaled to what I was trying for. So this is actually an M06, and I'm going to label it an M06 XL because it's a longer than long wheelbase version of an M06. You see from the outside, it's running non-standard crawler tyres. I mean, I guess there's something more than you would normally see on an M chassis. And in this video, I'm going to talk a bit about what's special and what I've done to make my M06 XL suitable for this, and I guess for other projects in the space you might be looking to do. So let's start. Let's take the body off and see what's special about my M06 and why I call it an XL. So here we are with the body off, and anyone who owns an M06 might look at it and go, well, it looks like an M06. And in truth it does. I guess the one giveaway on it is the length of the chassis here is more than you expect on an M06. A hint is given on the underside. I guess I will save that for later on in the video. It's all done with stock components and is quite straightforward, especially on this M06. We'll show the underside. You can see how it comes about. We've got the front and rear, which is stitched directly together to make the short wheelbase. The extension you would use for making the medium wheelbase, and the extension you would use for making the long wheelbase. If you use all of those together and a little bit of fettling, you end up with what I refer to as an extra long wheelbase that's the same 255 as you would have on any other Tamiya touring shell, or as we need for the monster racer body. The only other adjustment we need to make on the top side is making sure we've got something in here for holding the battery in some appropriate position. The existing battery retainers don't work so well given the length of battery we're playing with here. The other thing to note for this chassis is that we're using M05 RA rally hubs all round, so to give us a bit more ground clearance on the front. On the rear, I'm not using them in the high ground clearance mode, but it's an option available to me. I believe the actual amount of travel in the suspension and in terms of the drive shafts is a little bit too high when it's in full rally mode on this gearbox. Right, so here we are at what I believe to be the minimum teardown needed to be able to change the wheelbase of an M06. So I've stripped apart the top and bottom chassis spacers and clamps. It requires taking out the rear shock tower. That's all done so that I can talk you through the different chassis lengths available. So first of all, you could do something with no spacers in it at all. These guide holes allow setting that different length of the chassis. And so if we place it fully all the way back, you're left with something very short. I think when you install it that way, you even need shorter supports than these ones. Yes, there are some shorter ones in the kit for the upper brace, but overall that's a 210mm chassis length. So if you're running something like a mini shell or something like that, that's as short as you get. We compare it on the truck, you can see that's so much shorter than the truck requires, and so that is minimum length on an M06. There might be a cunning way to make it shorter, but I don't know of it, and I have no need for making such at the moment. So you can see here, no spaces in the middle of it. Okay, so let's take the shortest of the spacers. Tamiya will have you install this underneath. I don't recall the order of installation, but one spacer added there. Then the clamping, the chassis clamping happens immediately after that. So we can see we've gained this chunk in the middle, and like so. These original clamps that I've got here fit entirely. Those get screwed down, brace it all up together, clamp those together, and that sets us at our second chassis length, which is 225mm. Again, some way closer to what we need for the truck, but still nowhere near. So that gives us a wheelbase of 225. Now the larger extension from there, if we go up one, so that's with the narrow extension, with the larger extension available. That gets installed. You can see mounting holes wise, we're left with a single hole there to mount up with. But that's okay, because when we come to do the clamping, we are still set robustly between those, and that gives us a long wheelbase still, larger spacer in there. That comes out to the 238 wheelbase, I believe. And so that's as long as you get on a M chassis, of any M chassis. It's close to what we need, it's not close enough. And so adding in the extra 15mm available there can stretch us the extra way we need and build us into something that fits a 255 and a standard, or 255 and a standard Tamiya terrain. So let's build that up. We'll take that support away and we'll start from the beginning. So if we put this extension in, we put this extension in, we know we've got a problem, because this doesn't actually attach. There's nothing there for it to hold on to. And realistically, I would say that would be a major problem. And in theory it really is. And if you're doing any serious bashing with this, what I'm about to show you would be an absolute disaster. But in practice, the upper clamps alone do a significant amount of the heavy lifting. Now I have seen a much stronger, much better way of putting tie rods underneath here to provide some of the additional bracing that would be needed. In practice, this truck works quite well, even just using the top level ones. And now I don't know how robust that would be under a large number of adjustments. The answer is probably not very. And if I was doing anything serious with it, I would certainly want to brace the chassis more than I'm about to do here. But you can see this and tie rods between the available holes there would be enough to give you something really quite strong. But we can tie things together into those existing holes, and you would be surprised how strong it is. And that's sufficient. And the amount of flex in the chassis is largely gone. My original plan, my original intent, is to brace here with an epoxy chassis brace along the middle, and then to run tie rods here. But in actual fact, it's surprisingly robust even like that. Now the only remaining thing is this particular plate is currently friction held in, and some machine screws and nuts through here is sufficient for us to tie that together. So that's that. One extra long wheelbase M06, just showing it against a desert fielder, a Monster Racer body shell. You can see the extra stretch we've got in there to get us out to that regular touring car length, whilst retaining something that's M chassis overall width, and in so doing, meaning that we are well inside the body, and we can run what would be quite aggressive tyres for our purpose. So that is an M06 XL chassis. We'll pop the wheels and tyres back on and pop the body shell back on, and you can see the decisions I made along the way. So there is an M06 extra long wheelbase chassis running crawler wheels and tyres to get the appropriate overall feel for the truck that I'm running it as. The question should be, okay, interesting, why bother? Why not just use something like a TT02 or the like? And the answer to that is really nothing comes close to the overall width of this as a chassis. I just checked it on my measuring board here. I'll give you a close-up of that in just a moment. This chassis, with these wheels and tyres on, this comes in at just under 180mm wide, so way narrower than a TT02 or the like. The body that it's on is a 175, maybe 180 wide body for the Monster Racer and Desert Fielder. So I'll just line those up for the body and for the chassis, just to show you the overall width, and you can see why I've built what I've built. I guess 175 as I line it up there, and I'll just go and bring the camera over to show you.